Dollar yen at 75. It's a pretty brave call, but one about to be defended vigorously by the man who's made it. That's HSBC's Global Head of FX Research, David Bloom. And also here to argue, debate with him, is Yen Bear, Reuters FX analyst Neil Kimberley. David, thanks very much for joining us. Let's start. 75, that's over the next couple of years or so, but still, it's an extremely aggressive, brave call.
We don't think so. I think we think that many people, as usual, are being sucker punched into believing politicians with what they say. So the first part's easy. Rhetoric causes your currency to sell off. Second part is what's the action? And the third part is will the action work? And we would say the action will be subpar, and it certainly will not work. And when you find that out, you'll be terribly disappointed. And as always, dollar yen up the stairs, down the elevator shaft.
Neil, you're a veteran of the FX market, some 25 years. You've worked for a Japanese bank. What he says is pretty much accurate, no?
Absolutely. In the past, that's been exactly the case. But I just wonder whether this time round it's the last chance saloon for Japan. Whether they physically got to get something going here. They've got to get this thing moving. Otherwise, it is going to do exactly what David says. And that'd be a catastrophe for Japan. But also, I think this time round, the difference is that Abe's actually got a decent hand of cards. The Americans need him more than he needs America, because America is so conscious about the rise of China. They want a Japanese counterweight, and they'll give him what he wants.
David, dollar yen's
always beware of analysts that tell you this time it's different.
But David, surely it is different this time around. Dollar yen's moved up 20% in about 3 months.
Yeah, it's different in that he's got a super majority and he's talking the yen weaker and the market believes him. Yeah, in that sense, but what have they done? I'm challenging to ask you, what have they actually done? And the answer is narada, nothing. They've actually done nothing. Therefore, you cannot criticize them. So what are they going to do to create inflation and growth in Japan? I challenge you to tell me what steps they're going to take and will they work?
Back to you, David. It almost doesn't matter what they've done. The fact is that the market has moved, and you as an FX forecaster, you're in the business of forecasting exchange rates.
I am in the business of forecasting exchange rates, and that's why I'm forecasting it to come back down again. I can't forecast politicians. That's very difficult. Last year the big question was, would the euro break up? I said no. Nobody believed me. I got smashed every single day. And now the big call is dollar yen. So last year I believed policymakers, and this year my big call is to disbelieve policymakers.
Neil, as David said, beware anyone who says this time it's different. Surely your own experience tells you that as well.
No, I think we're just coming from different points of view. As far as I'm concerned, Japan is on the ropes here. Unless they get a weaker yen, they're going to go under. And if they go under, I'm going to sell the yen anyway. So I can see David's point perfectly. I just come up with a diametrically opposite conclusion. I don't really care what Abe does. As far as I'm concerned, Japan's going down the toilet, full stop, and therefore, this time round, I don't want yen.
Well, Japan,
sorry,
to
David.
be honest with you, Jamie, Japan is the fourth biggest economy of the world. This is a country with 3 trillion in net external assets. This is a country that's a net creditor nation. This actually makes it a strong currency. The ones I'm worried about are sterling and eventually the dollar. These are printing presses who are debtors, who've got net external liabilities. It's not Japan that's the problem, because Japan is a net creditor. So I'm not worried about Japan in the same way as obviously your analyst is. So I don't see why he sees it to be so problematic in Japan.
Neil, you would have, back in your trading days, you would have quite liked to have had somebody like David on the other side of the trade?
It's what makes a market, isn't it? You need two sides of the trade. But my perspective with Japan is driven by their demographics as much as anything else. Yes, they are a rich country, no doubt about it. They have got the surplus. But they are basically aging. They have no natural resources. They're going to have to import your amount of fuel. They won't turn the nukes back on in the short term. I just don't see where they're going, apart from with the yen weaker.
So why is it good for old people to have inflation? This is the point I don't understand. Old people in Japan want a positive rate of return on cash and a positive rate of return to buy things internationally, and that means deflation and a stronger yen. This is with the demographics, you're causing inflation, and it erodes the value of people who have things, which is most of the old people in Japan.
David, if I can just finish up, last question. When you travel around the world giving this view to clients, what sort of look do you get?
I get, oh, that's interesting, which means I'm long dollar yen and basically we think you're wrong, which is fine. I mean, that's, as we say, that's what makes a market. But everyone and their dog seems to be long dollar yen, and I'm the sore thumb, so I am sticking out. But, you know, we've had this view and we do believe in it.
OK, David, thank you very much. That's all for now. My thanks to HSBC's David Bloom and our very own Neil Kimberley. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.